So you're doing it? Do you have an idea when you're doing it?
I don't know a date yet. No, not yet, because I went in early September to talk to them about it, and at that point I didn't feel emotionally ready to do it again. And because it's not an urgent surgery, I decided to take a little bit more time to heal, both physically and mentally. But probably in the next month or so, depending on how it goes with COVID. I mean, the cases are going kind of crazy here right now, so I might wait a little longer, because I've already done all this during a pandemic once. If I don't have to do it when it's at the peak again, I don't want to. Go get yourself checked out. But if you're okay, don't. I'm not trying to spend more time I'm not trying to spend more time in a hospital than I need to right now. I was very lucky to not.
Tell me one thing. If you chose not to remove the other breast, what would their protocol be? Is it a 6-month follow-up? Do you have any idea?
It's yearly. It's yearly, which is another thing that I was really uncomfortable with. At the end of when my appointments were starting to thin out, I said, so how does this work? I'll come in, every 6 months? And they said, no, you'll come in next May, which would be a year. I said, but that's not how they do it in the States. Yeah, and they're like, that's not how they do it in the States. And they're like, well, that's how we do it here. And so in my mind already, I'm like, okay, so in 6 months, I have to complain about breast pain again so I can get referred and get checked out. Because it's just... especially in the first 5 years, like, why not? And because I'm under 40, and because they don't start doing mammograms here until you're 50, essentially I would be done with my kind of 5-year checks
before
when I hit 40. And then I don't know. I'm actually, when I asked about it, the nurse I asked about wasn't sure how it works, whether or not I would kind of just be discharged or not. Probably, I'd hope not, given the history. But all this to say, though, because these things, if you're American and you're listening to this, you're probably thinking what I thought at first, where she's like, what is wrong with these people? Why aren't they taking more action? Why isn't it more aggressive? And I can understand both sides. That's the thing. I've been through it now here, and I can see both sides to it. And one isn't necessarily better than the other, because there is an argument for being overtreated. There's a lot of people having surgeries and procedures that arguably could probably get away with not doing it, or not doing as much. But then there's instances here where it's not necessarily being undertreated, but where it could do with a little bit more aggression. All of that to say that, honestly, aside from maybe not kind of having my American needs met, like I couldn't possibly say more good things about the NHS.
Right.
And what living in a country that has national health care does. Everyone in America is so afraid of, well, I say everyone, but so many people are so afraid of socialism and socialized healthcare and programs. And I can't understand that after being here and being through this and going through this whole thing. And I don't owe a penny. I don't have to think about this. I didn't have to go through this with this fear of, how am I going to afford this? How am I going to do this and put food on the table, put a roof over my head? I can't even imagine what that's like. I feel so much for people going through that, because I have friends dealing with that. I've had that with other things in the past. When I was home, I've seen my family deal with that with certain things. It's crazy. That to me is crazy. That to me is crazier than not having both breasts removed at the same time.
I see.
Having to have something like this happen to you and have debt because of it.
I see.
I'd rather keep my healthy breast and eventually get it removed than have to be somewhere and worrying about how I'm going to pay my bills. Because it's either I treat myself or I feed myself. It shouldn't be that way.
And to put things into context, it's when we say free, we really mean free. You did not have a copay. You
No.
did not, of course, you pay taxes, and taxes go immensely towards the NHS. So some people will argue that it's not free in the sense that you're a taxpayer, and sure. But I mean, we pay taxes here too.
I mean, the taxes here are very high. I will say that we do have high taxes, but it is, for all intents and purposes, to me, this is free. this is I'm not writing a check. I'm not thinking about it. I don't owe a penny. It's of course people take advantage of that system, which is a problem in and of itself. But that's if you're a tax-paying citizen, if you're somebody who isn't taking advantage of it, it just and we do have privatized healthcare here as well. You can have private healthcare, which essentially just means that you might have access to nicer facilities. So you will be able to have your own room after surgery, rather than being in a ward or in a room with a few other people that you may have to share with. You might be able to see somebody faster rather than waiting on a referral list. But the doctors are the same. A lot of the times the operating theaters are the same. It's more just about the facility. And
it's similar in Portugal. And sometimes it's interesting because you join a private facility and then you get your surgery in a public hospital because they're better equipped. But
that's I mean, I actually, one big silver lining of all this COVID crap, can I say crap on a podcast? One big silver lining of all of this, which I was very grateful for, was that I don't know how they're doing it there. It might be differently, I guess, because it's all private healthcare. But the surgery, at least in the hospital that I was at, I don't know if they're still doing it now, but we were still in the peak of it when I had all this done. They were doing operations in COVID-safe hospitals. So they weren't doing it in the main hospital where I was normally going to get my appointments done. The actual operation was done in a COVID-safe hospital, which was a private hospital locally. And so I wound up getting to have the best of both worlds. So I had the NHS care, but in the private hospital. So I had my own room. I had really nice food. I had a really swish shower. Like, it was great.
It's so American of you.
Yeah, it was so nice. Oh my gosh, I know. I got mine in the end. And it was great because it was on my surgery, my operation was on a really hot day. It was about 35 degrees Celsius or 95 Fahrenheit. And I know it'll be the same in Portugal. Your average person doesn't have air conditioning in their homes. So it's really hot at night. You don't sleep well. It's terrible. And that's because at least here in Portugal, it does get hot. But here, like, we don't get that much hot weather. This year we did get a lot of hot weather, but we don't get a lot of days where you need air conditioning. But on that one day after my surgery, I was so grateful to be in a really nice hospital with really good air conditioning. And it made it a little bit easier that, I couldn't have anybody with me. My husband couldn't come in. I was by myself, which is...
How many days?
Fun. I was just there for one night. One night. But it was nice to have the air conditioning that night.
Yay, surgery.
Big win. I know. I know, that's the thing. I'm thinking to myself, if I want to have this surgery again, I should do it now while they're still probably operating in a private hospital. That's the key, folks. Do it now.
No, a lot of people. Care. Yes, a lot of people have been saying that it's been faster. Yeah. To go in and have surgery or have treatment. So, wow, crazy. It's funny. I mean, it's not funny, but how cancer is also a cultural thing, or how culture is everywhere, and just any of your decisions in life can be affected by nationalities and countries and country policies and just culture.
I mean, you can say what you want about the NHS, but at the end of the day, they'll save your life. They're there, and it's an incredible institution,
right.
And I hope America cottons on, and I hope that we don't go the way of privatization, for that matter.
Yes, true. Knock on wood. Yeah. So it only makes sense that they would not undertreat, like you were saying, but definitely be more cautious. And if they have evidence to support their decisions, the numbers don't show that there is an incidence of breast cancer in the breast that stays, then what can you say?
I mean, most people here do just have the single mastectomy or a lumpectomy, and they're fine. You know, you don't have to, and if they're not, then eventually they have it removed. I mean, there are a lot of people who, like me, push for the other side as well. But you know, they're not in the business of putting people in danger.
At risk. No, of course. Yeah.
But when you kind of are used to one thing, and then you kind of have to accept, well, this isn't the same. This isn't my culture, and you have to respect that to a point. To a point, but you also have to stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
Only you know what's right for you. So